Hey, hey all. I've decided that today I would get my hair cut. If you couldn't tell, I finally found a real barber down at the mall in South Provo. I guess they call it East Bay down there. If you don't know me by now, I'm from from Utah primarily. Born Northern California, raised Southern California, but educated in Utah. Most of my education has been here in Utah. Matter of fact, every school I've ever gone to, except into college, was here in Utah. Currently living, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes south of Salt Lake via the freeway. If you're from Southern California or from the California freeway system, I'm about an hour in your time south of Salt Lake City. As I know very well, the traffic patterns in Southern California were horrendous. I used to do deliveries there, and man, down the Orange County area, yeah, something that in most parts of the country would take 15 minutes by freeway is hours. I get it. But I really wanted to move a different direction today. I've got to let you know that I grew up in a time when if you had to lock your doors, it's because, well, you didn't want the local kids to get in and get into the food in the refrigerator because it was, something important for dinner for tonight. Grew up in a time where the idea of having a cell phone, we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have a leash back then. Hey, get home by the time the sun goes down. Yeah, okay, mom. Doing stuff like that and worrying about having somebody break into your house in our small towns, unheard of. And I really do believe that it was a great time to be alive. Oh, sorry, the hair from my head would. Sorry. Anyway, it was a wonderful time to actually be alive, and we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones. Matter of fact, most of our phones were attached to the wall in the kitchen, and you had a really long wire between the phone itself and the handset, so you could walk around. No such thing as a wireless handset back then, and as a young kid, I was the remote. I was the remote that went and changed hey, change the channel to channel 2. Okay. I jump up and grab it. And most of the time, changing the channel also meant changing the antenna on top, the earbuds, rabbit ears, sorry, the rabbit ears on top that were usually coated in aluminum foil to get a great signal. That's the kind of life I had growing up. And, when I go out and go for a ride on my bike, or when I finally got a car, it was like, hey, mom, I'll see you later. Call me when you get there, or, just be home before sundown. That was the life in the late 60s, 70s, and not really into the 80s, but yeah, it still was in the 80s. That kind of life. And I have to believe that we grew up kind of, I don't know, we grew up with heroes that really meant something. People like Roger Staubach, Dallas Cowboys. I actually got to meet him once. He signed a photograph to me. Hey, Jimmy, Roger Staubach. He was a spokesperson for Church's Fried Chicken. Best rolls on the planet, and good chicken too, but man, those rolls were delicious. I'm really dating myself today because one of the things that we also didn't do was get trophies for every appearance. Hey, if I got to play sports, we had to earn our time on the field or earn our time to be able to get out there. We didn't just get participation trophies. It wasn't the way. And I'm seeing in the news a lot about the kids today that are offended by everything. And people are offended by everything. I don't understand being offended by the name of an organization that's been around since before they were born. How about people being offended by a billboard in their local community because they want to change it to digital? Well, when they moved in, was the billboard not there? If the billboard was there when they moved in, to me, that's assent. That's okay for the billboard to be there. Now they're saying that even if they don't set it up as digital, they want the billboard gone. It's the company's living. That's how they make a living. That's how they keep people paid so they can feed their families and have a roof over their head. When you moved in, or when you built that house, or when you decided you wanted to live within 3 blocks of that billboard, that's assent by just doing. It's you move in to a local city, and there's what do they call those things? Those sewage ponds, just a few miles from you. Yeah, and you move in, but and years later, all of a sudden, that smell comes up out of the sewage and hits your face for the first time as you walk out your door, and all of a sudden, you're pissed off. How can they do that? Well, they were there before you. That's how that works. If you don't do the research, you don't have the right to go back and say, no, you can't do this. When I was growing up, if we were offended by somebody on TV, on radio, or in person, if they were on TV, we changed the channel. Oh, well, it was kind of interesting because we only had a few channels, 2, 4, 5, and later 7, 11, and then 13. And we had rabbit ears or an antenna on the roof, so we had to change it every time we changed the channel. We wanted to watch the Super Bowl. It was a matter of getting up on the roof and making sure that the antenna was pointed correctly for whatever channel the sports was on. If we were offended by it, we changed the channel. If we were offended by a radio disc jockey, we changed the station. I'm not going to go out and destroy somebody's livelihood because I'm offended by something that they might have said. This cancel culture is hypocrisy. I am personally offended by the cancel culture. So therefore, don't my rights mean something? No, they don't. Not even a little bit. My rights as a human being go out the door when I disagree with another person's right to be offended. Hey, I didn't serve in the military. I am of the generation that was between issues in the military. Even my brothers got lucky when they ended the draft because they ended the draft before they got the call. But not my father's. I have a stepfather, Master Sergeant Harvey Baker. Okay, Air Force. The man who gave me my last name and raised me until I was about 8, kind of. Truck driver. He was Air Force. He was Harold Carter. He was a mechanic, aircraft mechanic. One of the things that I'm most proud of him is the fact that he got to work on some of the X-plane stuff, the stuff that led to what we now know as the space shuttle system. And there are people offended when a veteran walks around with a hat on that has his designation or his place of service or what he did. I personally have watched a man be asked to remove his cap because it offended somebody. It's wrong. It's a hypocrisy. Without that gentleman, or without all of our American veterans, you wouldn't have the right to be offended at all. Think about that, people. I grew up in a time where if you were offended by somebody, you still shook their hand. You might disagree, and you could have some pretty decent discussions. Can't call them arguments. Some people today would go, wow, that was a bad argument. No, it wasn't. It was just a heated discussion about something that both sides felt strongly about. That's all. And we still walked away. And we still met each other on the street, at church, going grocery shopping. And we said, hey, hi, how you doing? Anything else you want to discuss today? No, not really. We're okay. Today, people obliterate, literally destroy lives because they're offended by somebody's flag in their yard. Hey, if I wanted to raise an American flag on a pole in my yard, I'd do it in a heartbeat. If I wanted to put up a POWMIA flag in my yard, I would do it. Now, it's not my yard yet, but I'm working on that. But there are people out there that would take offense to me being an American in America by Americans being offended. It's hypocrisy. There are people offended, literally, that my great-great-grandfather came over from Liverpool in 1851, an 18-week winter sail from Liverpool to New Orleans. His son became sheriff of Utah County. He became warden of the Utah State Prison when it was in Sugar House, Utah, not at the point of the mountain where it is now. He was not offended by the men he had to capture or keep in prison. What he was offended by was the stupid laws that he had to, deal with. In that time, a lot of the guys that were under his, in his penitentiary were polygamous. And they were stuck there because they had more than one wife. Do you think that they were offended or he was offended? He just didn't like the law. So he found ways of making sure the men could still make a living. Called what we call today work release. He made sure that they could work and support their families. Even if he didn't exactly agree with everything that they did in their lives, he did believe in their rights. Today, people don't believe in the rights of another human being. Today, people are offended because I'm saying what I'm saying right now. If you take offense to this, to my belief that the hypocrisy that's happening in the United States of America, the Republic of America, a constitutional republic on top of that, if you are offended by my belief in my rights as an American, turn this video off. Shut it down. Leave a comment. It's your right, and I accept your right to leave a comment. Will I'll agree with all the comments that are down there? No, I won't agree. Not always. Do I have to? No, I do not. Because I can believe the way I want to believe because of the lives given by those that have come before me to give me that right. People are out there trying to change history and remove it. Remove things from history that we need to learn. When I grew up, as I was growing up at the base of Mount Timpanogos here in Utah, one thing I learned really quickly was to look up. I lived at one of the base of one of the most beautiful mountains on the planet. And I kind of understand how people get blinders on and forget about the way they grew up, who raised them. Were you raised to think for yourself, or were you raised to follow the media? To follow blindly like a sheep? I wasn't. I was not raised to be a sheep, and I'm not a sheep. I refuse. Now, hey, I wouldn't mind being categorized as a leader of a flock. But even then, do you really want to follow me? Then hit subscribe. But understand, in this world, in this day and age, it's not fun anymore to run around and just be a kid. They can't. You can't run around and be a kid today. You have limitations because of the amount of evil in this world. There's a lot of evil in this world. And I'll be honest with you, we had that evil when I was young. People don't want to know it. They don't want to hear it. But we grew up in a time when evil was rampant. We didn't have social media, the news, the internet, all that to tell us all about the evil in the world. We didn't have it. So we didn't know about it. We were a little bit blinded. We lived without knowledge of what was going on around us. That was fun. It was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time to be alive. But I personally know of the evil that was out there when I was little. Personally. And if you ask in private, I'll be happy to tell you. Know that evil men were rampant then as rampant then as they are now. They really were. But now we've grown. And because we've grown, the evil has grown exponentially. The problem is we're allowing the evil into our lives every stinking day. We're giving it power over us by saying, hey, I get it. Things are out there that are going to kill us. So we got to be ready for it. We got to put up walls. We got to put locks on our doors. There are people in larger cities that have 7 different locks on their doors. Why? Because of the evil in the world. But I am old enough, not wise enough, but I am old enough to know that there are differences in the times when we grow up. And we change things. We do things differently. Is it good? Is it bad? Depends on your perspective, right? But understand, I'm not offended by you. I have friends and maintain friends who come from all walks of life. I've been accused of being a racist. But some of my greatest friends were black men, gay men, yellow, purple, orange, blue, whatever color skin you want. I've had friends growing up that I've defended their lifestyles because they were my friends. I've been hit on by guys that, hey, am I offended? Oh, matter of fact, I'm flattered. Am I happily married to a beautiful young lady? And I can say young because she's younger than me by a few years. But understand that we as a race, entire race, and when I say race, I mean everybody that lives on this planet that bleeds red. Well, maybe you bleed another color. Well, that means you're probably from another planet, but we'll go there later. Matter of fact, if you do bleed a different color, please contact me. I'd like to know. I've rambled a little bit on this cast. I don't know exactly where I was going when I began, but I do know now. I believe in you. I believe in you. You are a worthy person, regardless of your point of view, regardless of what you think, what you say, what you do. You're worthy of being, and I will defend your right to be. I would hope with all my heart that you would defend my right to be as well. We can all be friends. The more friends you got in life, the better. Understand, I'm not preaching, but it might sound like it. And if I've offended you, please let me know. If I haven't offended you, wait 5 minutes. I'm sure I'll come up with something. As a very dear friend of mine is very fond of saying, hey, I'm an equal opportunist racist. I hate everybody. I don't hate everybody. I hate hypocrisy. Don't live it. Don't raise your children to be there. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Live, laugh, dance, and dance like nobody's watching, even when they are. Hey people, be safe out there, and in the immortal words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.